he came after me about 1, 2 o'clock Christmas Day, and I went over there for dinner, and Burton called. And so I had a chance to talk to him, and I said, "You can't imagine who called me this morning." He said, "Well, that's hard to tell." And I said, "Jerry called." And I said, I was feeling kind of blue, and I said, "You know, Jerry made my day."
Well.
I didn't get a chance to say, "Happy Christmas to you, Merry Christmas." You know, I didn't write a card. I just couldn't. I was in such bad shape.
Yeah.
And I've been laying on the bed an awful lot lately.
We had heard the same thing from my aunt in Ohio. I have one aunt left, and she's living there, and she said she wrote after Christmas, and she didn't send any cards because she had the flu before Christmas. So she evidently was sick for quite a while with that.
I was just laying around, and I was using my walker. I'm getting back to my cane skin.
Oh.
And you don't get very far with the walker.
So your back was bothering you at that time in December?
Mm-hmm. And then you see, since Christmas, I went to this concert, Osborne College. They gave it in one of the oldest churches in Minneapolis, just a beautiful church. And I think all this woodwork, I just can't explain it. I suppose it's more on the order of, is it Episcopalian, that kind of set like along the sides of the church, or would that be Presbyterian? I think it'd be Episcopal, wouldn't it?
It sounds like Episcopal.
Mm-hmm. Well, the wood in that old church, it's a huge church. Mm-hmm. They had around 175 singers. And you know, they'd, at different times, everyone had a candle. But all the voices, and they were kind of enacting like Joseph and Mary and those. It was the most beautiful thing, but this town has all its streets busted up. Did you run into a lot of streets that you can't get through?
Yeah, that's right.
But we went in the van, and she hit one of these, and I bounced up in there, and I came down, and I grabbed. I'll tell you, I just was no good here. And of course, you shouldn't ever say anything for these emergency people we have downstairs, medical ones at our desk we have day and night. I said something, I'm so miserable and I'm so much pain. And she said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yes." Well, I had to go down and have my blood pressure because that's been wild too. Well, in the morning, well, she even came up later. I didn't hear her. I usually go down around 10, and she came up later and let herself in. I suppose I didn't have my hearing aid in to check on me. She was on until 11, and someone else. Wouldn't you know it, she wrote it up in the book, and then the first thing in the morning, I have our social worker waking me.
Oh.
And she said, "Well, you just have to see a doctor." And I said, "Oh, well, I'll just be all right." And she said, "Well, how did you fall?" And I said, "I didn't fall. In fact, it didn't dawn on me what had happened." So they kept at me, and I had to go to the doctor, and they took x-rays. Then they had to do them over because they were cloudy. And she said, "Well, it's just a badly bruised pelvis." And the next week or so, I was so much worse. She came up. She said, "You're just going to have to go to the doctor." And I said, "Listen," I went, and they took x-rays. Well, then she called the doctor, and I had to go again.
Well, how did they get you from your apartment here over to the doctor? You went with the walker? Were you able to go to the walker, or did you have it go in a wheelchair? Did they come and get you?
I went in a taxi and I took a walker.
Well, there's not you didn't go to a doctor here in the walker, in the center? Oh, I see.
See, our doctors, our insurance used to be over there. I wish I'd kept my own insurance. I had mutual. But when he came up here, they talked me into one of these PHOs or what.
Oh.
Only this is mid-center, and we have a clinic over on the other side in a drugstore. Well, after I'm here 3 years, they aren't here anymore, but it's Maxine's insurance that's here now.
Oh.
She belongs to PHP, and I belong to mid-center. And so I had to go back and have x-rays taken. And it didn't dawn on me, because every doctor say, how did you fall? Where did you fall? And I kept saying, I didn't fall. And that's what I've been laying around on the bed for so long with. It's getting better.
Did you ever think about the car then, or to the doctor or not? To tell him that you bounced in the car pretty hard?
Well, I never thought about it. I thought, well, how could I have badly bruised pelvis all the way across, and then pain coming down? And then all of a sudden I remembered, we take our little jitney bus to go grocery shopping, and I'm always holding, we strap ourselves in, and it seems to me that our gal that drives it is always going over a curb or something.
Oh, really? And these seats must not have much cushion in them.
Oh, they don't have any.
Is that right? Just like sitting on a board? Oh, really?
And of course you hit those, and of course all these streets are so bad.
They are, aren't they?
And of course it's bad enough when she hits these holes. But that was an awful deep hole that night. And
It must have been. It must have been.
And she couldn't go anywhere else. There was so much traffic trying to get in this church.
This is the picture that my father had up in his house after Aunt Jane passed away. And I'm sure you recognize it, don't you?
Sure. There's my mother.
Your mother was the baby of the family, wasn't she?
This is Aunt Bessie, Uncle Ben,
No, that's Uncle John.
or Uncle John.
Yeah.
This is Uncle Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these is, I think that's Uncle Henry, and that's Uncle Fred.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Aunt Bessie. This is Aunt Annie.
Aunt Mary.
Aunt Mary Halasic.
Mm-hmm. This is Aunt Annie Schwanda. Well, she was a Chauvin.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you never knew Henry because he died before.
Oh, they had some, I don't know, scarlet fever or whatever. And it took a couple of he died and a couple of his children.
Mm-hmm.
Mother used to go over and take care of them. See, they lived next door.
Henry, her brother.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And Mother was fairly young then, and she'd go over, but whatever, it was some disease. And he died, and a couple of the children. See, there was more than Amy and Lucy in that family.
And of course, you never knew your grandfather, did you?
Oh, they were both dead before I was born.
Your grandmother was gone too before you were born.
Do you know, your granddaddy reminds me of a movie actor. What's his name?
Well, I didn't know that.
If I can think of the name, you'll agree with me. Mitchum.
Robert Mitchum? Maybe because of his eyes.
Well, there's something about the face and his eyes. You look at that a while, and then you watch.
Or is it because he kind of looks a long time before he talks?
But he looks a lot.
Oh. I guess I never thought of that.
Well, maybe it's just lately, but you look at that. Mother had a great big picture of that with this beautiful frame, and Catherine has it.
Now,
Catherine had it down there.
tell me again now.
Mother had the same picture.
Oh, your mother
big
had
one.
Oh, of this very same picture?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Bigger than this?
It was, I don't know whether it's just the frame that made it look so big.
Oh,
This one's pretty dilapidated, isn't it?
well, this one, my Aunt Jane had in New York, New Rochelle. And then when she passed away, why, my father somehow inherited, and that's the only one we
It
had.
seems to me that Mother's is bigger than this.
It could be.
It had a real wide, beautiful frame around
Maybe,
it.
unless, like you said,
Uh-huh.
it's the frame that made it seem bigger.
But they certainly took good pictures in those days.
They sure did.
They really did. Compare, they haven't really advanced that much more. You can just see their facial expressions, and
Well, Mother used to take pictures and develop them herself.
I never knew that.
Mhm.
I never knew that.
I wonder if I've got some of my Kodak books
Really.
that
But
she developed.
Can you ever remember your mother ever talking much about her grandparents, or about her parents?
No. I can't. It's funny. I know so little about my grandparents. The most I know is what I read in those histories that
Oh, I see. And she never,
But it always seemed when she did talk about my grandmother, it seemed to me that she was a cripple or in a wheelchair or something.
Teresa was your grandmother, Teresa.
It seemed to me that she was an invalid. They didn't probably have wheelchairs then. But it seemed to me that she was
Oh,
an invalid.
oh.
But isn't it funny? We never did. I suppose because they were dead before I was born.
Mm-hmm. Well, our son Tom remembers your mother real well.
Who?
Our son Tom remembers your mother real well, because when we went to visit her, mostly he remembers, she said she'd never vote for Kennedy.
It sounds like, she was always giving me the Dickens. I get so tired of politics, and I get so tired. I've changed my vote from one Republican to Democrat to Republican. I vote how I think,
Mm-hmm.
not because someone's good looking or,
Or that you stick with one party.
Mhm.
You don't stick with one party.
Bud and I used to sometimes cancel each other.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what we do.
Well, just because your parents were Democrat doesn't mean that you always have to
Sure,
vote the Democratic
that's
ticket.
right.
So I've already picked out some up here that I don't like at all. I'm not going to vote for.
Oh, but your mother died in 1961? 1961.
Mhm.
So Tom, like our son Tom would have been like 9 or going on 10 years old. So he remembers her quite well.
Well,
he remembers, well, we went to visit her.
Oh yeah, Mother said that you'd bring all the kids. And she got the biggest kick out of that.
And we really think that was really good for our kids to know some of our older relations.
And you used to bring the whole tribe.
Right.
And Mother said, you know who came today and brought all his children? And I said, it must have been Jerry, because she'd said before when you came. And she'd say, oh, I so enjoyed him.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful that you did.
Do you know that when you're little kids like that, you remember better than when you're our age? Tom says he remembers your mother. He said, all reading with a magnifying glass.
Oh, was she?
When she was in the rest home, she would be reading with a magnifying glass. And I didn't remember that till he was I told him when we were going to visit today. And then he said, I remember Aunt Julia, that she, then he told me she said she'd never vote for Kennedy.
Well, she'd sit and listen to all the speeches. And boy, she'd get so, and she'd say to me, now what do you think of so-and-so? And I said, Mother, I don't like politics. I said, they all get up there and they all tell us, this one tells you this one comes and says that isn't true. I said, I think they all tell a bunch of lies to get voted. Well, I do think that.
I can remember when your mother stayed with my grandmother, so in 117 North Grove, and if we would come there, when there was one special announcer, a commentator on, be quiet. She wanted to listen to that. We had a set while she listened to, you know what his name was? H.G. Kaltenborn.
She always listened to Goldberg.
She loved him, didn't she? When we were making even a little noise, she wanted to hear on that radio what was going on.
She used to listen to him, and then, what was the other one? He made that trip to the Himalayas.
Oh, Lowell Thomas. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, she loved him, didn't she?
Well, they were excellent commentators, because I know my dad would listen to them too.
They were just out of this world. We don't have any like that anymore.
I don't believe it. Not that now that Eric Severoid and CBS's Walter Cronkite are gone.
I liked Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
I got mad at the guy that took his place.
Dan Rather?
Yeah. I thought it was disgraceful. I don't care whether you're Republicans or Democrats, that day when he insulted our president. I think you have to feel something, not to embarrass someone.
They kind of went to war against one another, yeah.
Oh, but people were calling wanted him fired.
Oh, sure.
I thought that was disgraceful.
He has a very, very sharp tongue, and he isn't afraid to really dig in.
Well, that was something with these other Colburn and them. They never took sides.
They kind of reported it.
They brought you the news and told you how it was, but they weren't giving you, their own opinion of things.
They get personally involved in it.
That's right.
They would tell you how things might go this way or they might go that way, but not that they would get personally involved with it. Just getting back to your mother, maybe I've told you this before, but I remember at her funeral, Reverend Headley was the pastor. He was the pastor.
So long ago, I can't even remember. Isn't that awful?
29 years ago, no, 61, and this is 90, 20, it'd be almost 30 years.
Was he our minister then?
I know, yeah, I remember so well because of his little sermon that he gave at the funeral.
Yeah, he would have been in there.
Yeah, 61. And you know what he was saying? He said that he had visited her just like 2 weeks before, and she still wanted to take him on and arguing about politics, something about the Board of Education. She just didn't like the way things were going.
Oh, she was disgusted with me. I said, Mother, I don't listen to it. I don't like.
But she was really well versed in all.
Even at her age.
At her age, and women weren't really involved in politics like she at that time, like they are today. That she would know what's going on.
Well, she knew.
And I can remember that she would argue with my grandfather.
Oh, I imagine they had some good ones.
Because with my grandfather, he was pretty much set in his ways on.
I don't know. Was your grandfather Democrat and wouldn't look at the other way?
No, my grandfather was Republican. And when
Mrs. Jane was Democrat, wasn't she?
Right, yeah, right. When Hoover lost, I can remember my grandfather was just sick. When Herbert Hoover lost to Roosevelt in 1931, 32.
Yeah. Do you know historians still say that if they'd let him had it longer, he would have put our country in shape? I don't know. as I said, I get bored with politics. And I don't sit like my mother did, and, but you still
You mean
listen.
he just really didn't have a chance, is what
No.
it was. He wasn't in long enough, and then Roosevelt.
But they said he would have straightened our country out. Don't prove it by me.
No.
I don't know.
Well, it isn't always the man, it's the way the conditions are going, and then the man gets credit
That's
for it.
right.
I mean, it's not just him alone, I'm sure. We went to visit the Hoover Memorial.
Yeah,
Just
we had
months
the
ago.
stock market crash, and people, more men were committing suicide, and so, oh well.
Well, Norma, of like your mother and my grandfather, John, which of the others did you know really well?
Oh, I knew Aunt Bessie real well.
Well, how did you get to know Aunt Bessie real well?
Well, we lived in Minneapolis, you know, we came up in May one year, and we were still there the following year. In fact, we lived upstairs at Aunt Bessie's.
Oh, did you? Aunt Bessie's Tatar.
And then I used to go up, you know, Aunt Bessie was romantically, oh, she wanted to know about your boyfriends, and I remember I was, I guess, out of high school, and came up and she wanted to know all about my love affairs.
Oh,
And you know, she and Uncle Frank, I guess, used to fight like dogs that didn't talk.
her husband, Frank Tatar.
Well, was that your mother and you kids that lived there then?
And you didn't go to school up here? Or you went to school up here at the
I was in 5th grade.
5th grade?
That's when you moved up to the cities.
We had a kitchen, well, I guess a living room, 1 bedroom.
So you had your 3 girls? And the 2?
No, Catherine didn't. Catherine was in Minneapolis. She was going to McPhail, and she was working at Dayton's. And she was staying at this place that my mother stayed when Mother took a business course.
Oh. So what year do you think this was?
Well, figure my age.
In 5th grade, you would have been about 10,
Well, you must have been.
Well, I suppose I was,
you were 10 years old.
you're always, what, 6 when you get 1st grade?
Yeah.
5 or 6 then.
So I must have been 10 years old when I was in 5th grade. And of course the school was, here's Aunt Bessie, and she was just 2 houses from the tracks.
And what
And
year?
here was the schoolhouse,
Now, what year were you born?
1909.
1909. And so that was after, if you were like 10, that was after the World War I then, wasn't it?
Oh, because I wonder if it didn't end about then, because
1918, the war ended.
I remember they burnt the Kaiser, the straw, what you call it. Oh, you know, that scared me. They
When you were up in the cities? When you were in the cities?
They hung that thing up and they burned it.
So you were here then in 1918? That was quite a celebration, wasn't it, in all the towns when the war ended?
Well, yeah, but I...
Norma had talked about that too, that Owatonna had such a celebration, the men would all go to town and get drunk.
If I remember, was Catherine born in like 1899?
No, Catherine was 9 years younger than, I
Oh,
mean,
she-
older.
9 years old. She was born like 1900 then.
No, let's see. You know, the only way I can tell how old we are, Maxine's 2 years younger, Stanley was 3 years older, Wilford was 6 years older, and Catherine 9.
So Maxine was born in 1911. And Stanley was born three years before you, so that was 1906.
And Wilford in 3, so Catherine must have been born in 1900.
I think you gave that to me once, but I don't have it right here.
And I can remember that. Yeah, I was thinking the other day, Catherine will be 90 or next
She'd be
birthday,
90, wouldn't she?
the last of August.
I think we buried her in about 1985.
5.
Yeah, it was probably in the fall, like August, maybe?
I think it was right before 4th of July, wasn't it?
No. Wasn't that the 4th of July when we went out to Mineral Springs? Do you remember when you went to Mineral Springs? I took you and Edith Habiger and Agnes Art. That was on the 4th of July, and then that was that same year that Catherine died.
Well, she died in 85.
85, yeah. And then that was in 86 that Edith Habiger had this stroke, April 15th.
I thought it was just before the 4th of July that Catherine died.
Well, I guess that's not really that important. No, but I remember that we went up to Forest Hill. Can you remember when at the funeral, or at the burial there?
I think that was a few days. You see, in the spring, Maxie went down. She went down to Oklahoma. Somebody got married, and then she called over there, and Thorl wanted her to come over there.
You are right. You are absolutely right. Catherine died July 3rd, Mount Olivet Funeral Home, and died Wednesday, July 3rd at Mount Olivet. Well, they got that wrong. She was born August 31st, 1900 in Owatonna. She married Thorwald Anderson January 1st, 1927. Survived by her husband Thorwald of Lubbock. But they got it where she died. They got it where the funeral is, or funeral home is in Minneapolis, Mount Olivet.
Well, I was quite sure she died like the 3rd, but then she wasn't buried till after,
Yeah.
evidently.
So you got that one right, for sure.
Because Thorl had to come back up then,
Mm-hmm.
and gone home. It was just Maxine and I left.
Yes, Junior. But of all the grandchildren of Ignatz, there aren't that many left. Ben Shoba, and you and Maxine.
That's all.
I can remember sitting talking with your mother, and she says, I'm the only one left.
Yeah, she was.
She was. And I said, well, is it any special feeling? She says, it's no special feeling. I can remember that because she talked to me a lot about her about old times, and I didn't listen real well.
Well, you should have.
I know I should have. That's why I'm listening to you.
Because I feel kind of bad that I don't know more about
I'm sure.
my grandparents.
I'm sure. Because, well, if she could come back now, we would just have all kinds of questions to ask her, wouldn't we? We sure would. We surely would.
Maybe at that time I was probably too young.
Or you feel so...
When you were younger, did you, of course, probably your grandparents were living.
No, mine were all gone before I was born.
But,
But our parents didn't talk that much about them either. It's like, they didn't know that much. It's like when they came over from the old country, they did not talk about it. My mother says her parents didn't talk about her grandparents.
and
So she
probably
never heard anything from the old country, you know.
you probably talked about it more because your mother, I didn't know your mother passed away until, I guess, Ruth,
Oh, uh-huh.
uh,
Yeah, when she was with us, but still we had already heard everything, down through the years, or whatever she knew. But I think those people who came from the old country and then their children, mostly they didn't want to remember the hard times that the family before had. It's like they're going to have things better, and they didn't usually talk that much about it. But there were some things she would say.
What do you hear from that guy?
well, I tell you, I gave his yearbook away from the university. That was such a big thing, I didn't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And this evidently came out of there, didn't it? Did I give it to you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know that I never hear from them.
You don't, huh?
I feel so bad because, when they were young, they came up every summer. And those kids, at first, we all crowded into our little cabin. They'd sleep on the floor, or we'd wake them up in the morning underneath the beds or something. Then, the last few years or so, they rented Grant's cottage. And those kids would be up at 6 o'clock in the morning, tickling my feet and getting me out of bed to go fishing.
Is that right?
They were such lovable kids.
Well, my sister remembers them so well. With cute, curly-headed kids. I remember them too. But, well,
They were.
yeah, they were really cute kids. But you don't really hear from Stanley Paul that much anymore then, do you?
I never hear from him.
You don't?
The stinker.
Well, I suppose he's busy too.
Well, I think he's, he's in, somewhere. I don't know whether he's teaching in an academy or, that's how much I know.
Mm-hmm. I got,
Burton keeps me, up to date on everything that's happening in Oklahoma.
I got all, you got all that stuff too. I try not to throw anything away.
I'll tell you, when that came, Burton sent it to me. He said, Kenneth's
This is a
girl is
picture.
gonna be.
This is a picture of David Tinkham and Jennifer Mann. Their wedding picture.
Look at that hair. I said to Joyce when she was here, I said, my gal, I said, that hair, because she's a nice looking girl, but why do all the photographs people take, they're all teeth? Well, they are. I don't know.
They're smiling.
But look at that hair.
Yeah.
Isn't that awful?
Here is where he, this is the letter from Bill, and he says, Bill Mann, Boulder, Colorado, attorney grandson of Julia Shoba Mann, has been appointed Attorney General of the Federated States of Micronesia and is in the process of moving out there. And this is from last year. So that's how I find out what from.
Well, Burton is good about him.
Yeah. And this is.
You mean Burton signed his name Bill?
No. This is a letter from Bill, and I think he made a copy of it. And so he.
Oh, you mean Billy?
Burton got a letter from Bill. And he
His
sent it.
brother?
Yeah, in Colorado. And he just wrote that in there, and he wrote it on the end there.
Oh, you mean they're paying the expenses of the cottage up north?
Oh yeah, that's something to do. He just sent that along, and he just so I would.
Oh, he was such a stinker when he was little.
Who?
Billy.
Billy, was he?
Gosh. He did everything. I never saw he'd stack there and, you know, he'd kick the daylights out of his mother. I wouldn't have stood for it. And when they'd come up in the summer, we'd just moved into our new house, and of course it was dirt road there. They had a great big, what do you call those, where they dig up things and smooth out roads.
So it was like a grader, was it, or a backhoe, or a...
Well, they
Running
did
over?
everything.
Oh,
He goes over in this empty lot. Of course, we were the only one in that block at that time. And we told him not to do that. And he got that thing started up.
Oh, no.
Of course, someone reported it. And then, well, there was a house next door. He had one of these things you throw in the air. It almost went, there was a house next door that was built. After we moved there, it almost went through their window.
is that right?
He did everything that, I never saw such a mean kid. And he
Now,
was,
let's get back. He started up this tractor?
yeah, that great big thing.
Oh, like a big bulldozer.
Oh, yes, it was a big bulldozer. They said they had trouble, and I guess it wasn't running, but he got from there. He started it. He did more mean things, and you know, Burton, you know, he'd have kind of dry humor. And he said, of course, we didn't have all these things when we were young. Wilfred and Ruby just spoiled that kid rotten. He had everything, bikes and everything, and of course, the other kids didn't have those things as they grew up.
I'll show you one of my favorite pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And you know where I got that from.
For me?
I got it from you. That just brings back old times just about as, it must be your writing on there.
It is.
Then you gave it to me, and I wrote on there to make sure I know who that is.
Oh, they said.
I tell you what, now this is a picture of my grandmother Agnes Shova and your mother and Julia Mann. And I can just see her, your mother, sitting there, complaining about the cards she's getting. Complaining. Oh, just nothing, she says. I can just hear her saying that. Or I can see my grandmother, they would do something and then they'd start laughing. And she would laugh so hard. Can you hear her laughing? I can hear her laughing.
Oh.
I can just hear her voice just gets hoarse like mine is now that I've got a cold. I think that's just the best picture. And I've been thinking I'm going to have that and have one made and have it made enlarged. Got all kinds of things. Of course, you've seen all these. I think these are the ones you gave me.
Yeah. I think they took Jane over to the, see, these are things
That's out at the...
out at our lake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Jane was trying to fix her grandmother's hair. Joyce sent me a bunch of pictures the other day. They're going to sell her mother's house. She's in a nursing home. I haven't really had a chance to look at them. I suppose I've got the same things. Well, here.
Oh!
This isn't too many years ago. That's my brother Bill. That's when I was still tall. I was out, that's in back of our cabin.
Oh.
I had my 2 guns there, and I was shooting at a bullseye, and it was way off somewhere. And I don't know whether I missed, and he's laughing at me, or...
When you say that, that's still a long time ago, though.
Yeah.
It's still a long time ago. Because,
It doesn't give the...
now these are pictures she sent you? Or?
Yeah.
Oh.
You can see how tall I was.
Yeah, you were really tall.
But I don't know where she got these pictures.
I suppose you share them with us.
Or else maybe they took some, huh? Joyce has sent these. This is Joyce with her grandchildren. Honestly,
Don't get these mixed up.
you didn't get the chance to see Joyce when you were down there, do you?
Yeah, I've got a
Oh,
picture.
that's right, she came over, didn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, I said to her, Joyce, I said, Jerry gave me that tape. And I said, for heaven's sakes, almost that one side, all you talked about was what? Texas. I said, couldn't you think, I said, I enjoyed the one side so much, but I said, you used up almost the whole tape on that.
Well,
She said, I did.
Well, before the comment that was made before she came, that what are we going to talk about to fill up a tape? They said, wait till Joyce gets here, no problem.
And then she talks about Texas.
Yeah. Well, she filled it up anyway. You get to hear her voice.
These are her two daughters. They're nice looking girls. Now there's Bert Lee's new grandson.
Oh. $1987.
This is,
Don't, why don't you let them, so they don't
Oh, I
get,
can handle it.
okay.
and this is Melissa. Those are Shelley's, the one that's working for her dad now.
Oh. I
And
bet he's really happy that he's got someone in there now, huh? I hope they get along.
Oh, listen, he brought those kids up like little princes. You know, he wouldn't get married because he was going to bring his children. See, they were small when Farrell died of cancer.
Really sad, wasn't it? Very sad.
And the one girl is head of the nursing over at the university.
Of Oklahoma. Oh. But Burton Lee is more of a conservative banker than a lot of those savings and loan people.
Well, listen, he spends money when it comes to those kids.
Well, that might be true.
Oh, you'd think he was a millionaire.
Well, that might be true, but somewhere.
You know, he'd take all of them, even their husbands. I guess he probably thinks he may have.
But he runs a good business down there, Norma.
Yeah,
He gave you
my brother started that.
that would be his dad.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Farrell has named her children like Melissa. After one of her aunts.
Oh,
But she had these kids quite soon. So we had to, but he called Joyce one night and he said, I have been trying to get her. And Joyce said, well, she's probably, they're probably out somewhere. And he says, and taking that baby out, and he said, I don't know, it was 9, 10 o'clock, honestly. And this is a little girl that they have.
I probably.
My God, even they are getting old.
Talking about Burton Lee's business, Burton Lee gave this to me. This is the ranking of in Oklahoma of the savings and loans in 1986. And the ones that are the safest, they start at the top. This is the Tulsa Daily Paper. Which one do you read is at the safest?
Okmulgee, of course.
I mean, there's hundreds of savings and loans, and Burton Lee's got the safest one in Oklahoma.
But the assets look like the smallest.
Well, they're not really big, but it's safe.
Yeah, then my money must be safe there.
Well, I think it is. I think it is. I think he runs a very conservative.
Norma,
Yes?
I have your, you're busy?
Mm-hmm.
I have your groceries here.
Oh, good.
The only thing is that she didn't know if this was the right bread or not, but if she got old and if you don't want it, why I'll take it.
Oh, I can use it. That's it.
Oh, is it? Okay. Then I think the rest is all right. It was 7:45, you can pay me later. I'll take your key, we're going downstairs for lunch and I'll mail your letters and then I won't be back for quite a while because we're going to eat.
Well, I'm going out for lunch.
Yeah.
This is a cousin of mine from Otana, Jerry
Oh.
Chauvin.
Oh, I'm making a lot of noise out here, aren't I?
And this is his wife.
Oh, we were on this.
I think we met by the elevator. Yeah, we met by the elevator.
We were on the same
Okay.
elevator.
And she's been so nice, she's been getting my mail.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Uh-huh. Well, then I won't bring your meal back until later on this afternoon.
Are you from Minneapolis?
Mm-hmm.
You live,
Mhm.
born and raised in Twin
Yes.
Cities?
Since 1926.
Oh, but then you came to Minneapolis from somewhere else?
Yes, I did, from Wabic, Minnesota, if you know where that is, up on the Arm Range.
Oh, sure.
Is that where you were married?
No, we were married here in Minneapolis.
Well, she's a darling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I
I
had
should
such
say.
time getting around and she,
Yeah, isn't that wonderful to have someone around like
Well,
that?
now, Norma, you won't need two sets of keys, will you?
no,
So I'll take these and,
okay.
all right. Nice to meet you.
You bet,
You
you
can
bet.
put the bill in there, Alice.
Pardon me?
I
No,
can pay it now.
it's 7:45, but you need to pay me now, I'll get it later.
It was surely nice to have someone to,
Oh, yeah, you know, I could barely walk, and I was wondering if there was anything in there that, that's a funny looking picture.
and they've got them all identified on the back. Those are from Joyce, aren't they?
Well, these were her mother's. And she was cleaning out pictures. Maxine making Easter eggs. I suppose that was down there. This is Billy's. Now, I bet you remember her.
Well, I remember Maxine.
That was Stanley's wife.
Oh,
That must be one of Maxine's, I don't know, cats.
no.
That's Wilford, I don't know. This was Ruby's mother, Maxine.
They're having a good time.
Picture of Maxine. You can have it if you want it.
This is Maxine, huh? Okay.
And this must have been up where Mother, Wilford and Ruby would rent a cottage. Because that's Bud and Mother and I and Wilford. I wonder why they had two of me, this one. there's two of them.
Oh, they thought there was such a good picture there.
Someone else must have taken it.
It's a different picture, see? Maybe they had a reprint made,
Could be.
like it's done at a different time.
This is Wilfred over here, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Look at how they spoil kids. Look at the toys there.
Did we see, what did we see in Burton Lee's house? Did he have a lot of toys?
Mm-hmm.
I guess he did, didn't he? Oceans of toys.
Well,
He did?
He didn't have that
Didn't
many,
he?
no.
There was something
But he had some toys in that one room.
There's my sister
That
when
was when the
she,
kids played.
I suppose that was a graduation.
This is Catherine?
Uh-huh.
I'll put the name on there, just,
I suppose it was a graduation picture. There's Burton's granddaughter. I see both of those are Shelley's children. Now this is Joyce Maxine.
huh?
Ruby and Burton, look at Burton. Doesn't he look like a businessman?
Oh, they marked, oh, this is, it says Shirley, Maxine, me, and Burton Lee.
Oh, that's Joyce.
Well, it says back here, it says
Well, it isn't
Shirley, who is Shirley?
It isn't Shirley. That's Joyce, that's Maxine, that's Ruby, and that's Burton.
Okay,
Doesn't that look like Joyce?
no. She had her hair different when I saw her, when I knew her.
This is taken at somebody's wedding, I think. My gosh, Billy, I haven't seen Billy for years. My heavens, he's a tall. And he was such, this, look at those flowers, whatever those trees are.
Yeah, they're Burton Lee. Yeah. There's pictures that I can really recognize.
Mm-hmm.
She looks pleasant, but also she looks like she could scold somebody. No, she looks just, what's going on here, she says. That's such a good
There's no
picture.
name, there's no name.
No, I have to write, of course, everyone.
This is a little chap.
No.
And Melissa wrote, and she was so happy about Andrew. He's 4 months in this picture, but he's 6 months now, and he died the day before Christmas. And skirt, and they thought that he'd probably have a heart attack or something. You want one of those pictures of Mother?
Well, I've got the best one,
Yeah,
Norma.
okay.
You know which one is the best one? When my grandmother and her are sitting out on the porch playing cards.
Oh. Oh.
Now, I've got some pictures for you to identify, too.
You always got pictures of me, but
No, these are the ones, just a couple there that I'll put the name on here. So never. All right, Jerry, what did I do with them? Over here. These are the pictures that Joyce sent up to me.
oh, see, she sent you some because she was going through them.
Must have been, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. At her mother's house.
You want to put them in the package?
She said those all came from her mother's house.
These right here that I identify. This is taken by Fritz Studio. And so she sends it back up here. That must have been a classmate of maybe her father. Like, shall I read what it says on there?
You know, what does it say?
To Wilford, Clarence.
That must be some friend of Wilford's.
Somebody of Wilford's that really we don't know, do we? So we don't really know who that is. It's just
That name, that isn't Clarence. What is it? Is it Francis?
well, this is to Wilford.
Wilford, you see, they probably call him Wiffle.
And it looks like a CH. You see what John? We'll just ignore that one because we. Now here's one that's not identified, but This is from Joyce.
Well, I don't know any of those people.
This wouldn't be Stanley up here.
No.
None of those are your mother. None of neither.
Look at, she had a question mark.
I think I might even put that.
I don't think that's anyone as relatives. Maybe she didn't know and found them in amongst her mother's pictures and...
But I mean, to be swimming out there, I thought that, I'm going to have to put...
That must be up to Lindstrom, where
Maybe,
her mother always rented a cottage.
I'll bet you. That would be
You want to
her.
lay those up on the ledge there?
You had a rubber band around these, didn't you? It's around your hand, and I'll put a rubber band around these now, so.
I don't think that's anyone we know.
I'll bet. Now I'm glad that I've got that taken care of.
May as well throw it out.
Well, I can give it back to her when I see her. Have some
Well,
business.
she wouldn't know either, I bet.
Well, she can take it up to those folks up in Lindstrom. So, this is your mother. And this is Maxine. And this is your sister Catherine.
That's Ruby.
Why did I say Catherine? That's Ruby, you're right.
I've never seen that picture.
Haven't you really?
You suppose that was Wolford's car? And that's my mother?
Well, that's your mother, it says. Isn't that a nice picture?
Yeah, she's got Ruby.
Yeah, you're right.
Ruby Shellman. Her maiden name was Shell.
Do you want to put these in this envelope, John, as we go through them?
I Was that look like a Dodge? I think
No, well, it's got this thing on the front here, just like an Indian up there, that, you know, look, that used to be Pontiac.
Oh,
It could be.
I bet it was a Pontiac. I think Wilfred drove Pontiacs.
Isn't that a beautiful car?
I've never seen that.
Oh,
That's a good picture, Mother.
isn't that a good picture? That is just a lovely
She
picture.
had just turned 80.
You're right, on her 80th birthday.
Someone took it up here.
So, well, if Joyce wants to part with the picture, I'll keep it.
Is that Catherine? My heavens, I've never seen that.
Isn't she a lovely looking person? She looks like a starlet, doesn't she?
I've never seen that picture. Fish.
Mm-hmm. And here's Joyce's little note to me. She says, "Hi, thought you'd like to have these for the next family sugar reunion. One of these years I'm going to make it up there in June for the reunion." Of course, then she sends me this picture.
That's the three sisters.
Mm-hmm. Bessie, Mary, and Aunt Julia.
Mm-hmm. Mother went through a period where she put on flesh, and it was unhealthy flesh. And then she put it on all of a sudden, and then it dropped off again. Maybe when she was having a change of life or something.
Maybe. So this was taken probably, Norma, I remember this picture. I've got one also.
Mm-hmm.
But can you remember my grandmother at 117 North Grove? She had
Sure.
She had this picture right there as you come in the house. She had it there for years and years and years. I have that picture now. Only mine is all faded because it was out for so long.
Well, then you got another one to make. Did you have these up at the reunion that time?
Yes, not these from Joyce. I just got these from Joyce. Oh, here, we're asking all those questions. I could have just well looked here. We visit this. There's my sister
Agnes.
wearing the wedding dress from her grandma Agnes. That's her wedding dress. That's one.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Then we went up to Forest Hill, and I was cleaning all the stones off. They were so covered with dirt. And here's the man pot. But it looks nice. It's painted.
You know, Catherine would come every year and paint it.
Oh, she did.
And you know, I always saw that there was flowers in it. We decided rather than a big tombstone, we'd like something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
But
nice.
Catherine shouldn't have ever painted in the first place because it was rust-proof and it was in a silver.
Oh, well,
And then after she painted it, then it would water run on it and get rusty looking.
Oh,
Jimmy, last year, when did you take that?
were we up there last summer?
I'm not sure. Did you write on it?
Because Jimmy said that,
No, I didn't write on what year we were up there.
I bet, because it's fresh painted.
But, yeah. Oh, Jimmy didn't.
He painted it, and he had some flowers, and he put some flowers in it.
Maybe we were there and we were wondering who put flowers in there. I think so, yeah. But your brother Clarence was, so, no, you wouldn't remember him either, did you? Because you were 2 years old when your brother Clarence died.
What year was he born?
1899.
Well, then there had been just about a year, February, about a year and a half between Catherine and he.
Mm-hmm. You were right, Stanley is 1906. Catherine was
1900.
1900. How come I don't have your mother's picture of her on a stone? I don't know. This, how come I didn't get your mother's picture stone in there? Because it's right over here, isn't it? It would be it right here. I don't know. Must have been some other...
Another picture.
And now this must be Stanley, that must be Mother's
I
right
think
there.
so, yeah. Stanley died in 67. And this picture right here is the one that my cousin Clayton has.
Who is that?
This is the same as this man right here. That's Ignatz. And he has a large portrait of him. He's holding it there. And he didn't know who it was.
Well, that's our grandfather,
Your grandfather, yeah.
your
My
great-grandfather.
great-grandfather, Ignatz or Ignatius, however they
God,
want
they
it.
had crazy birds coming down here in those days, didn't they?
Well, they still have them today, don't they?
I think they're such uglies looking.
I don't know.
There was a lot of work to shave, I think, in those days, wasn't it?
Well,
Probably was harder to shave.
I guess you've seen this before. When I met Kenneth, right in front of his insurance agency.
Mhm.
That look like Kenneth?
Yep.
These are just other second cousins that I meant, like Winslow, Lasik. This is Russell Shoba. This is George. This is where we had it
My
last.
gosh, he looks like your Uncle John.
You think he does, huh?
Oh, there's a strong resemblance.
Yeah, I can see that. It is, isn't it?
Strong resemblance.
And this is, we were out in Montana, this is Tracy Johnson's, or, Tracy Shoba's son.
I'll never forget that dress
What?
that dress he sent you for me, of Tracy's.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Tracy was short.
The dress from Tracy. That was to
He
you,
said
huh?
a dress he thought I could use. You see, I sent her a couple of my fur coats because they had a lot of bad luck out there, and Uncle Ben would get them out of debt. And she taught school, ride a horse to school, country school. And I remember sending her
Some coats.
fur coat. And boy,
What year do you think this was? Before you were married?
I think so. Because I bought a new fur coat. And they were having it so bad out there.
Like
Maybe
maybe during the Depression.
It was. That was before I was married, because I
Sure.
bought a new coat. Yeah.
And what's this about a short dress?
Did we bring a dress back? You mean it was us?
And you brought it up, and he thought that probably I could wear it. But Tracy was a lot shorter than I am, and it was
Kind of forgot about
funny
that.
looking thing.
When we visited them in Montana, then they gave this as a gift to give to you.
I think
Oh, I see. I guess.
I didn't forget it.
Well, of course, I couldn't wear it. I don't remember who I gave it to.
Oh, well, this is just second. Now, this is Arthur Holasek. Now, his father was Joe Holasek. And we met him down in Harlingen, Texas. He lives in Texas.
Oh, really?
And so when we were visiting down there, we looked him up. And so you notice when I have my picture taken, this is great-grandpa's cane. I always have my cane with me.
That's a good picture of you, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
This is the farm we went to last year, isn't it?
No, this is Emil's. This is Emil's out by the lake.
Oh, but
Yeah.
this is, I said his farm.
Right.
My gosh.
You really think?
Oh,
You think Winslow looks like who?
well, you're Uncle John.
Your cousin, Uncle John Shoba.
Yeah. You put your hand like that.
Yeah, I can see it. Look,
There's
next-
a strong
You
resemblance.
bet it is.
Gosh, I haven't seen Kenneth for a number of years.
Well, you haven't seen Bert and Lee either, have you?
No.
Well, these are,
Oh, there's Lorraine and you.
oh, yeah, okay. And you know where that picture's taken?
Oh, in front of my house.
In Old Town. That's their wall. That's
Tori.
Tori. The day of the funeral for your sister Catherine. These are all great-grandchildren of Ignatz that I've, this here, of course, is Arnold,
Arnold.
out at Graceville, where he was running.
You know, I wouldn't have known him. Well, I hadn't seen him since he was young, and he went to Shattuck School.
Oh,
And he was a spoiled youngster.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. And of course, he had that funny little thing here.
I don't know what that is. Oh. You recognize those people? You do, don't you?
Oh, gosh, that's Maxine.
And this is you.
It isn't either.
Yes, it
I was
is.
going to say that.
Sure. This is over at that.
That isn't me. I don't have a sweater like that.
Well, maybe I was mistaken then. I thought sure that was you.
Uh-uh.
This
That's
is,
Vlasic. That's his wife, isn't
that's
it?
his wife, Bernice. That's Jerry. I get in all the pictures, don't I?
Oh, that's an awful picture. There you look like a little like Emil Schogel.
Oh, okay. Oh, here's my sister again wearing the wedding dress. So, like,
Was that lately?
no, this is at Amos. We were at Amos in 88.
That was lovely, with that lake, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Let's see that again.
I couldn't get over that farm of Vlasics.
George and Bernice.
I've never seen anything like that. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Why, that place, it was so huge, and then he had so much else. Everything was just manicured. The lawn, everything.
Who do you suppose does all the work?
He and somebody else.
No, he does it all himself.
Yeah, but that one, is it a brother-in-law or something?
Oh, Arthur. Brother. Well, now you have to find the phone.
No, it didn't ring again.
Yeah, it stopped. It only rang once.
We have a few people here a little forgetful, or they ring. We just have to ring 3 numbers.
Oh,
And if I get to the phone, they don't let it ring long enough.
oh,
I got some days I think I'm not going to answer the phone.
I'll bet Norma's getting hungry. It's going at 12:30.
What time do you have to meet the plane?
12 minutes to 4.
Oh, we're good. I thought, this morning, oh, I hope we aren't going to be rushed so we can't visit.
Yeah,
We should,
Well-
we figured if we give ourselves about an hour to get to the plane, you know.
you know,
An hour before.
I'm interested in when you moved to the Twin Cities. And then you lived with Aunt Bessie Sitar then, didn't you? Upstairs.
Yeah, that was when I was,
And your 2 brothers came? Stanley and Wilford came up here too? And you and Maxine?
I'm sure that Wilford, or didn't Wilford come? I don't know about Wilford, but Stanley did. And Maxine and I, and Catherine stayed in Minneapolis at this home that my mother stayed at when she went to that business college.
Mm-hmm. And you were here during the summer?
we came up, that's one spring, and we stayed out to Schmeidel's.
Oh, that would have been,
I think that's Lake Riley. We stayed there for the summer, and then come fall, we had to go to school, and we moved in that apartment. That was a kitchen and a living room and a bedroom.
now, where was your visible means of support? Did your father help pay, or did you?
I suppose mother used to sew for people.
But then she had all these children to take care of too, didn't she?
Well, Catherine, of course, was paying for herself.
Yeah.
And I don't think Wilford came up. What year would that be?
Well, you were saying that you were probably 10 years old, so that was like 1919.
You said you saw the World War was over when you were up here.
Well, they burned that.
Well, when they were burning the Kaiserville, that was during the war, probably.
That's true.
Or it could have been right after.
But I can remember my
Well, that would be 1919, wouldn't it?
yeah.
Or 18,
Um,
the war.
Well, I was 9 years old when we came up, but I was 10 that summer, I suppose.
Mhm. But I
And
can, Norma, I can remember my grandmother talking about when your father and mother separated, that she was so angry with her husband, your Uncle John, because he sided with Henry Mann, and she was just so angry with him.
Well, it was too bad.
But that's the way it was in those days, wasn't it? The man dominated everything.
Well, he was so seldom there, and when he was there, why, he wasn't evidently nice. I'm glad I don't remember a lot. Stanley and the rest of them remember. But he never, Mother had supported us, I guess, almost from the time she married him.
Oh, really?
Because he had money. Aunt Catherine and Uncle Emil and Dad all had money. Their father was evidently, I suppose in those days you'd call rich. And my dad, the little money that Mother had, he took that and he invested it in gold mines or silver mines or something, lost it all.
Oh, really? The probably money that she'd gotten from home or whatever she...
Yeah, and it wasn't very much. It
Were
was,
were you born and raised in that house that we think of up on there on
Vine Street?
Vine Street?
Mhm.
What, that was your home?
See, they built that.
Then when you moved back to Old Town, you moved back to that house, didn't you? And then you and Bud made apartments in that house.
Mother did.
Oh, yeah, your mother did, right.
She did that.
You were saying when they built it, that they built the house?
Originally?
Mm-hmm.
Oh heavens, I wasn't even born.
No, I mean, did your parents build it, or was it?
Hmm?
Did your parents build it?
Hmm? That was built around 1890 something.
Oh,
I remember there was something on the wall downstairs. I guess my dad was awfully fussy, and I guess about the way it was built. Anyway, he probably didn't pay some bills, and there was a lien put on it for a while until they did something different. That was a big house with all those bedrooms, and those apartments were big. I had 2 bedrooms and a living room and a dining room and a kitchen, a little hall.
well, I remember going there before it was remodeled. Well, of course, that's what we're talking about. And we walked from, is it like a sitting room? And then there was these 2 big doors to open up like this.
That was a parlor.
Now, it's just huge. And where one of those doors are now, when they remodeled, they hauled all that stuff out to the farm. And we have one of those doors in our warehouse yet. So I always think about, here's the door that came from Aunt Julia Mann's house.
Oh, that was beautiful wood.
Oh, beautiful wood, sure they were.
Well, our hall, as you came in the front door, was a lot bigger than my kitchen here.
Just huge, wasn't it? Just huge, it really was beautiful.
There was a Davenport or something in the hall, and then there was sliding doors from the hall to come into the parlor, and the parlor, sliding doors to come into the living room, and then we had a big dining room, and a huge kitchen, and a huge pantry, and you had a stairway going up from the kitchen upstairs in the front, kind of curved up to this balcony, and there was a love seat there, and a big sewing room.
Oh, and Aunt Jane stayed there when she went to high school, didn't she? Yeah. I have Aunt Jane's diary, I don't have it with me, telling about when she stayed there. That she would bring butter and milk, and
Well, I think that's why, when I took Latin from Miss Ersman, see, they used to come there, those teachers used to come there a lot.
oh,
And she was sick or something. She had red hair. And she was sick at first, I guess, and so the Latin teacher was a Mrs. Payne. And I was getting 95 in Latin, and then Miss Ersman came back. And she wasn't going to show any partiality, because she was afraid people think that because she came to our house so much. God, I couldn't get any marks from that gal. There was one day, I'll never forget her, she stuttered. And this one day, I don't remember, it was Harold Anderson and Eva Warren. They both copied my Latin paper. And of course, we got to class, and she asked me whatever it was to say it. And of course, she asked them, and they couldn't remember. And of course, mine was wrong, and theirs were wrong. I got 0. She, and her red hair and her face got red as a beet. I'll never forget that. See, I gave the answer as I'd given it, and they couldn't remember what answer when they copied my paper. So I got 0 for letting them copy it. But, I'll never forget. She was trying to say it, and she couldn't, and it's... poor Miss Ersman. And then there was a Miss Davis. She was superintendent of the lower grades, principal. And she used to be there. But you see, they were afraid that someone would think they were giving me, being nice to me, or
being partial.
And then we had a Miss Man, no relation. And of course, everyone thought that I was
Her niece.
either a niece or grandchild.
Uh-huh.
Well, not a grandchild, because she wasn't married.
Oh.
And so, boy, she didn't give me any favors either. Because everyone thought we were related.
Uh-huh.
That would be Mildred Mann, would it? No, that Mildred Mann?
Oh,
It'd be her aunt.
Oh.
really?
Mhm.
Is that right?
She lived down on, this Miss Band lived down on Vine Street. Just right off, and is that Elm or Grove? Elm, I guess. It was a little house there that she lived in. But she was just an old maid.
Mm-hmm.
But evidently, everyone thought that I was related to her. That made it tough, having these teachers that came to our house.
Oh, sure. Well, then that's how you made the money, was boarding people.
I think I remember you saying when you stayed up there, they made you pick berries. You had to pick berries for
Uncle Ben.
and his wife, who was
Aunt Mary.
Aunt Mary.
I stayed there. And they never opened their house to air it out. And Aunt Mary had the shades drawn all day long. And the bedroom, Uncle Ben, Aunt Mary had a bedroom downstairs, and the two girls had a bedroom, and I had to sleep with them, and they were
Well, this would have been Tracy then, wouldn't it?
Tracy and Helen, and Helen
Helen
was
Brown.
a fairly good-sized gal. In that room where they never opened the window, it was hot and blazing, and I had to sleep in the middle of the two. That was just terrible, how I hated to go to bed. And then if you got a storm, I can still hear Aunt Mary saying, Helen, Tracy, Norma, and yelling upstairs, Edwin, Ben, Ralph, get down here. And you know, they tell her to go to hell.
Why did she want them to come down?
She was scared, and we'd have to go in the basement, and you know, those basements, there's, the lizards crawled around, you know, they were just dirt basement. I was scared to death, and you had to crawl down, and it wasn't a stairway. You had to crawl down and...
Ladder probably, huh? Like a ladder?
And get down there, and then those darn lizards, because it was just a dirt floor, you know. But at some time or other, when they'd had a tornado, it moved the house about an inch. And from then on, Aunt Mary would get hysterical.
What?
And of course, the boys teased me.
Oh,
They'd sit in a circle. And the girls too. And of course, me, a little young, innocent 10-year-old, or 11, they had some kind of battery or a sense of shock all the way around. And they'd tell me the owls would be hooting, you know, and it would scare me. They'd say, oh, those are spooks, those are ghosts, and you know, I'd be scared to sleep at night. Those kids, and Uncle Ben was such a tease.
was he?
Oh, he was an awful tease. But when it came to his raspberries, boy, if you think, you know, they had those boxes, and of course all these bohemian women that he hired, they were good pickers. And of course it took me forever to name men, and if you didn't pick your bushes clean, you had to go back and pick them all over. Oh, and he used to tease me.
So Uncle Ben would get after you to work harder or do a better job.
Well, he made me go back.
How about Aunt Mary? Did she ever say?
Oh, she always crated the boxes.
So she was easier to get along with.
Oh, she was always yelling at everybody. And you know, I'll never forget this, because it made me kind of sick. Well, I'd never seen it before. But you know, when she fixed the chicken, she took the head and she fixed the head.
Oh.
And I'd never seen that before. Have you ever seen?
No.
Just the feet, I've seen the feet fixed.
With that holes in those eyes and things.
Oh my gosh.
This is Aunt Mary.
That's real old country.
Aunt Mary
huh?
Schmeidel. She was a Schmeidel.
That's real old from the old country, huh?
I don't know, I'd never seen it, and I never heard of it
No, I
before.
haven't either.
So you really got well acquainted with your Uncle Ben and Aunt Mary there, didn't you?
Well, you know, Uncle Ben would talk about going fishing, and he'd say, what do you think you fish with? And I'd say, well, worms. Well, no, you can use peas too. And I said, you can? He said, sure, when the fish come up to take a pee, why you catch them. And of course everyone laughed, and I was such a young innocent, I didn't know what they were laughing at.
So you can remember that joke from that far
Well,
back.
I was so embarrassed, you know, because I didn't know why they were all laughing at me. I was feeling bad to think everyone was laughing at me.
I can see that.
I can remember that just plain as a day. But he was a tease.
Uncle Ben.
Mhm. And of course, as I said, the boys, you know, holding hands and running a shock through you.
Well, now, you were staying there but where was your mother then?
Well, she was at, that must have been the summer after we'd been there a year. And in the summer I went out there, because you see, the summer we spent out of Schmeidel's when we left Owatonna.
Mm-hmm.
And so that must have been that summer, and then when the house got vacated, why, and the divorce was finally final, why, we came back then that fall.
Now, this Schmeidel's was related to your mother,
Mm-hmm.
and that was on her mother's side. No? How was the Schmeidel related?
It ought to be on her mother's side.
On her mother's side.
Her mother was, wait a minute, wasn't her mother a Schmeidel? Somewhere in that history there was Schmeidel.
Well, she was a Menzel.
Mitzel.
She was a Menzel. But Uncle Ben's wife was a Schmeidel.
Uh-huh. But we weren't, you see, Uncle Ben married a cousin. Aunt Mary was a cousin.
Oh, she was a cousin.
Mhm.
So then maybe,
Well, your mother married a cousin, or your grandmother.
well, distant, they say,
Yeah.
yeah, very distant. It doesn't show up in any of our, so the Schmeidels you stayed with was somehow related then, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you had adventures there, didn't you?
I sure did.
Did you ever come out to the farm in Owatonna and stay with Uncle John and your Aunt Agnes? I know that your brothers did.
Well, they worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle John hauled them out there to keep them out of mischief in the summer, and they had to work on the farm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember my father telling about that. But you girls never spent an overnight out.
Oh, well, in the winter it was nice, sometimes. Well, like one Thanksgiving, they'd come to town and we'd go there for Christmas, and the next time it'd be just the opposite. They'd come to town.
This is when your father was living with you yet, or after?
Well, I don't remember much before, but I suppose this was all during my childhood.
Uh-huh.
We'd go out there and spend either Thanksgiving or Christmas, and we spent Thanksgiving. Then I was hoping the pond would be frozen so we could skate.
Oh,
And then Aunt Agnes would come in with her horse and her sleigh. And the snow would be deep. And as I recall it was like a one-seated sleigh. She'd come in and wrap me up and take me out there. And then there was a little hill there, and you slide down that. And then in the summer, I remember, that's when your dad and your mother got married.
you remember when my folks were married?
I sure do. I was out there, and they came back that night, but of course I couldn't. I was too little. But they chivalried.
Oh,
And so I was looking out the window, to watch all these people come and chivalry. Your dad and your mother. All that noise was all the cans and stuff.
you were at the house then, on the farm?
Mm.
Oh,
I suppose Aunt Agnes had taken me out there, for
Uh-huh.
a visit. And
because my folks went away and got married. They were married, I think, in Mankato.
oh, were they?
Yeah, they kind of eloped is what they did.
Well, I don't remember that, but I remember when they came back.
Oh,
And of course, that's when all the neighbors came and made all that racket.
well, I think they were married in 1922? 22. Yeah, 1922, so you would have been 12. No, 12, 13, you were born in 9. So you weren't really that small, were you?
No, because I remember Agnes, you know what an old maid she was. She wasn't married yet.
Agnes Arp, your cousin.
I remember I was beginning to develop, and I remember her saying, I think it's just a shame that Aunt Julia hasn't put a bazooka in that girl.
Oh.
And then I kept going like this, trying to make myself flat.
That sounds just about like her, doesn't it?
Yeah, she was so outspoken,
Right.
Yeah.
and she didn't care who heard it.
That's right.
And of course, I was always so sensitive.
Well, most young girls are.
Our son walked, well, I won't even say that.
No. Well, she was great at getting people's hackles up.
Yeah.
She did that to us a little bit too when we used to go visit her in Chamberlain. She had a way of getting you so upset that you were ready to leave.
It's funny how well, of course,
right.
nowadays, I guess people don't think so much about it.
Well, I don't know anybody like her.
Oh, don't you?
No, I don't know anybody that's as outspoken as she was.
You mean Agnes or?
Agnes Art.
Agnes Arp.
We
Well,
don't
she
have
should-
any. We don't know friends or even in our family people who are like that.
Well, you're right. I don't think Agnes ever had any friends, did she?
Well, she had friends in Chamberlain.
Yeah.
She was nice to her friends. When we would visit her and go to her meetings, she was very nice to them.
And she, yeah.
Oh, you'd been to Chamberlain.
Oh,
then.
yeah, we went there several times. But when we go back to the house, then she didn't care what she said to us. But she'd never talk that way to her friends.
Well, I know she belonged to Eastern Star, and she
She had a lot of
was
friends.
their matron.
Yeah, and she had a big club. They had like a club of women, and they would meet monthly. And we'd meet, I think, at each other's houses.
Mm-hmm. And she was a hard worker in these extension clubs, and the club she was in, she would really do a lot of work.
Well, Eastern Star, that's a lot of work when you're with their matron.
Yeah.
You
The
go through
people
the
out
thing.
there they really liked her because she was nice. to
Henry
them.
should have left her out there.
You mean
He
at the
never
first?
would have, he would never do that.
I know it, but he should have, because she was happy there.
Who would have taken care of her?
Well, at that time, she didn't need taking care of. She could take care of herself.
Well, she would have had to go to nursing home out there.
Well, later on, but
Because
not at first.
it was only within a year that she went to the nursing home.
Wasn't she longer with her?
And she broke her hip, that leg, that next year.
First she broke her arm. She fell and broke her arm.
Yeah.
But, well, we think she wasn't getting the right nutrients out there. When she finally got in the nursing home, and then she got better food, then she perked up. She was really alert. Only she had this broken hip and she couldn't walk.
Well, I knew she wasn't happy. She wanted
Well,
to.
she wasn't even right in her mind. She did, when she lived with Henry too, she would do some strange things,
Oh, really?
Yeah, one time she sewed Henry's pockets shut on his coat, on his jacket. And she got the pictures down from the attic, and she started writing things on them, and they weren't right.
For heaven's sake.
She did Henry had his hands full with her, and Marguerite wasn't, her mind wasn't too good either. So he used to get pretty frustrated. with
Yeah,
those
your
two
mother
women
was
in the
sick, and then he
house.
has Agnes.
Yeah, he had his hands full
I know.
for that year.
I was thinking about your apartment here. If your mother could have had an apartment like this, she wouldn't have had to go to a rest home.
Yeah.
She was able to do things, except they
Well,
didn't, they didn't have things so handy like you do here.
No, that's true. But she was in the cities here when the doctor said she'd either have to have someone take care of her all the time or go in a nursing home.
They didn't have these kind of apartments in those days.
No,
No.
because it was her heart, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So she elected to go in the nursing home. Of course, the nursing home, after it was sold, was a lot better than it was then. And that guy was awful.
When she was there,
Mhm.
was it?
He wasn't giving them nourishing food.
Well, I guess I don't really remember that, but we always enjoyed coming to visit her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'd take us out in the lobby there, and we'd have a long visit.
But you know, sometimes the nurses or the help would call and say, Norma, come up here. Mother had that gallstone that in those days, they didn't operate on you. If you were in your 60s, they thought you wouldn't pull through. And I remember when Mrs. Adair was around 80, 81, she had a gallbladder operation, and she lived through it. But in those days, you know, they thought if you were 60, well, and of course that big stone about killed her half the time.
And she was really painful, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But she had that problem when she lived with my grandmother already, didn't she? I can remember she used to get in such pain. Grandma would
She
worry.
probably could have had it.
I can remember Grandma would just worry so much about her when she'd be in pain.
It seemed to me, she'd say it felt like someone put a real tight band on her, you know, or squeezing the daylights out of her.
And the doctors wouldn't do it.
Oh, they thought that she was too old.
Oh my.
But they should have, because after all, Mother lived till be almost 87, she would have been.
Mm-hmm.
But,
It had been more comfortable, wouldn't it,
mm-hmm.
for her?
But when the doctor in Minneapolis said,